In my last video, I spoke briefly about what's happening in Sheikh Jarrah, a neighborhood in East Jerusalem where 6 Palestinian families were facing eviction from their homes. An Israeli court has ruled that those houses belonged to Jewish families before 1948 and will hence now be vacated for Israeli settlers. Evictions of Palestinians from East Jerusalem have long been a part of Israel's policy. Some Jewish Israelis have apparently proved that they were heirs to the family who lived in the area before the War of Independence in 1948, and the Jewish law allows them to reclaim their property. Within days after shooting the video, the conflict rapidly escalated into a full-blown military confrontation between Israel and the Palestinian territory of Gaza. Rockets were fired, buildings were collapsed, and many people died, including children.
What is going on in here is really something really horrific. I can't describe it. There's no such word to describe all of that.
Yeah.
We are really under violent attack by evil entity.
But almost 3 weeks after the heavy exchanges and a threat of war from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, a ceasefire has been agreed upon between Israel and Gaza, where thousands of Palestinians took to the streets in celebrations. So what was the conflict all about? Is the ceasefire just a temporary resolution? And what lies ahead for Israel and Gaza? Forced evictions of Palestinian families from Sheikh Jarrah had already flared up hostilities, but it boiled over after the Al-Aqsa violence. Israeli forces stormed the mosque when thousands of Palestinians were performing evening prayers on the final day of the holy month of Ramadan. The incident left many of the worshippers badly wounded, prompting militants in Gaza to fire rockets at Israel. The militants we're talking of here is Hamas, a Sunni Islamic fundamentalist group and the de facto governing authority of the Gaza Strip. After the end of the Israeli military occupation in the region in 2005, Hamas took control of the Gaza Strip following a military conflict. But Israel and Egypt both imposed a blockade in the region, cutting off its entry and exit points to leave it completely isolated from much of the world. This had a severe impact on Gaza's economy as poverty and unemployment rose to some of the highest figures in the world. Yet with the help of its allies including Iran, Hamas kept amassing a large arsenal of rockets, and in over 2 weeks of the latest conflict, it fired over 3,000 of them into Israeli cities and towns. While the casualties were few and far between as Israel's Iron Dome system winnowed out most of the incoming fire, the barrage of attacks put cities like Tel Aviv and Ashkelon under grave threat. In response, Israel started pounding Gaza with relentless airstrikes. Indiscriminate bombardment like this pulverized several residential towers. They even took out the building which housed media organizations like Al Jazeera and Associated Press, which Israel justified as an attack on Hamas militants hiding in the building, although there is no evidence to support their claims. By the time a ceasefire was agreed, more than 200 Palestinians were killed, including many children, causing another massive humanitarian crisis in the already impoverished region. Even though the suspension of hostilities spells a respite at last for the people of Gaza, the question now on everyone's lips is, does it really pull the plug on the conflict, or is it just a temporary truce? There have been multiple attempts at mending ties between Israel and Palestine over the last few decades. Among the first overtures were the 1978 Camp David Accords signed by Egyptian President Anwar Sadat and Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin, although the proposals that were mooted in the agreement were never effected. Then at the end of the first Intifada, Israel and Palestine came together once again for the 1993 Oslo Accords, and peace seemed to be on the horizon. But the assassination of Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin once again flared up hostilities between the sides. A second Camp David summit in 2000 also came up empty. Israel's closest ally, the United States, had refused to condemn Israel for its actions, even blocking the United Nations resolution for a ceasefire on 5 occasions. And while President Joe Biden initially said Israel have the right to defend themselves, he is now vowed to provide a humanitarian aid to Gaza.
We remain committed to working with the United Nations and other international stakeholders to provide rapid humanitarian assistance and to marshal international support for the people of Gaza and the Gaza reconstruction efforts.
However, it's not enough. Palestinians want them to launch an investigation into Israel's bombings and hold them accountable.
To stop America from providing Israel with money, billions and millions to provide Israel with military weapons.
So what's the solution to all this? If the past is any precedent, then peaceful negotiations have very little scope here, as hardliners on both sides have always sought to keep the conflict raging until the other side's complete destruction. While some believe there is no end in sight as long as there is the very existence of the state of Israel.
We can't live with this entity, with this evil entity, because it is my land, it is our land, it is our land. They don't have any right. We can't live with Israel because it is our land. We can't share it with anyone. It is our land and they don't have any right to stay in here. See, we need this to end. We need this to be over. We fed up with this occupation, with this, we are really fed up with this.
The fighting may have stopped for now, but as we've seen many times before, it's just a matter of time before Israel and Palestine lock horns in another military confrontation again.